This is not democracy. European Parliament unites to condemn selection of new EU Commission President behind closed doors. Ursula von der Leyen chosen as the leader of the EU's executive branch despite the fact she was not on the ballot paper as a candidate and has no manifesto.
Here's a summary of the article.
The European Parliament's political groups have united to condemn the selection of the next European Commission President, branding the process an undemocratic stitch-up by national governments. EU leaders chose Ursula von der Leyen as their pick to replace Jean-Claude Juncker as the leader of the European Union's executive branch despite the fact she was not on the ballot paper as a candidate and has no manifesto. The European Council effectively ignored the European Parliament's Spitzencandidate, or lead candidate system, which was supposed to inject an element of democracy into the selection of Commission President, instead nominating the Defence Minister, who is largely unknown outside Germany. The Council has the right to propose a candidate to lead the Commission to lead the Parliament. However, what the Council doesn't have the right to do is to ignore all the candidates that have been voted for by European citizens. He said the approach of carving up other top jobs taken by EU leaders was clearly against the treaties. You were telling the Parliament who it should nominate as President of our chamber. You are now at the point where you're deciding who is in charge of the ECB as if there was one more political nomination. This is not democracy. You are supporting the Eurosceptics, even the nationalists. None of the presidents on the Council would accept this being done in their countries. It would be taken to a constitutional court, he said. Iracha Garcia Perez, leader of the second-largest group, the center-left Socialists, said EU leaders can't come here and just lay out the Council position and say that we have to vote for it. To some, the Parliament represents genuine European democracy because of its directly elected members, while to others it is the European Council because of the strong democratic legitimacy of the leaders. Such disputes make little sense as both institutions are democratic, he told MEPs.
This post received a score of 37,266, with an upvote ratio of 94%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
As a German, I find the whole thing pretty funny since von der Leyen had one scandal after the other as defense minister. At least in Germany, it seems politicians are sent to Brussels to minimize the damage they can cause back home.
Greater than von der Leyen had one scandal after the other as defense minister. And even before that, remember Ursula? I do. Never forget. As EU Commission President, she'd have way more influence than she did as German defense minister. I doubt Weber could have been any worse.
For context, she is pro-internet filters, and she considers Rammstein such a travesty that they should be banned. If Rammstein is not fair free speech, then what is?
So just to confirm, this is a combination of censor and Ursula. Google didn't give me any English articles on the subject. Separately, why does the defense minister deal with censorship? Are they not military related?
She was Minister for Family and Youth first, qualification, many kids, prior post, then work and social security, qualification? And then defense, qualification, who knows? Being in the right party probably. The censorship stuff is from her family and youth time in '09. Edit, she was Federal Minister for Work and Social Services, not Health. The health job she had before that in one of the states, as Minister for Social Services, Women, Family and Health. So her first federal job was kind of a continuation of that.
Her father was the CDU Minister-President of Lower Saxony for 14 years, her husband is a rich noble. She is such a ridiculous example of nepotism in politics, 4 years in a small city council then straight into cabinet.
With the average qualification the CDU personnel has, why not? At least she is no Seehofer, even if I think he would probably have been a better fit for defense than her.
I'm not a fan of Seehofer, but back in the days he defended social security and healthcare, that's the one good thing about him. Ursula von der Leyen is simply a horrible choice. I hope the parliament votes no. Edit. Seems like Seehofer also defended marital rape, so fuck that.
He also defended marital rape when they debated whether it should be outlawed in the 90s. Just sayin'.
Didn't know that, now that's a shitty thing.
I am very much pro-EU, but the fact that the heads of government decided to circumvent the Spitzenkandidates and nominate someone completely different is a big example of the democratic deficit that the EU should be trying to improve. Moves like this is why the Eurosceptic parties call the EU undemocratic. Edit, since I am getting a bunch of comments telling me to pull my head out my ass or asking me how I can still be pro-EU, I would just like to say that I'll be the first to admit that the EU has issues with the aforementioned democratic deficit as well as the lack of transparency in many aspects. Rather than seeing that and just wanting to pull the plug on the greatest geopolitical project since 1648, I would rather improve it so that we can keep enjoying the lasting peace on the European continent.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.